Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be going over the 5 things I wish I would have learned in relationships earlier. Before we start this video though, if you learned something or found something super helpful, just tell me about it in the comments. It's always good to hear back from y'all, and if you need more advice, I can give you that too. For my first point, let's talk about who you should make relationships with. What is it best to look for? The first thing I look for is emotional intelligence. This is because emotional reactivity will equal toxicity. If you have some dude that's hanging around with you that's always getting mad at the game, always making rude comments, or is always on some sad, miserable stuff, you probably don't want to hang out with them, right? Or you have this friend who reacts all the time, gets angry and yells, hits something. You don't want to be with them. That's where toxicity is with emotional reactivity. The higher your emotional intelligence is, the better your relationships will be. That's just a fact. That goes for you and the person you're trying to make a relationship with. You always want to make sure they can match the energy of what you want too. And if you have a toxic person in your life, don't hesitate to cut them out. Never let a toxic person in your life. That's one of the biggest things you can learn. They will drain you and make your life worse. You look at your friends, you're looking at your future. So if you have a toxic friend and who's really reactive with emotions, don't hesitate to cut them out. But do it in a way that they would never know. You should never let someone know what you're thinking and what's on your mind. Always say less than necessary. Never let them know you're cutting them out. There's other ways of going about it, just like silence. Silently distancing yourself, and stuff. And keep this in mind, looking for emotional reactivity is very big when looking for partners. Like if you trying to date a girl and this girl is telling you she's getting angry at everything, you might not want to mess with her. Alright, now that you know what to look for in relationships, let's talk about how to make them. There's going to be 3 things you need to do to make a good friendship, and relationship in general. Positivity, consistency, and vulnerability. So first, positivity. So man, look, no one likes that dude who always is on some negative stuff, hateful stuff, always talking about others. Side point too, if someone talks to you about someone else's business, assume they're gonna do it to you too. But back to my point, positivity. You want to be positive in your relationships. Don't be that guy. Next comes consistency. Consistency is the glue that holds your relationships together. The more consistent you are, the more comfortable you'll feel. Consistency always has a phase where it's you deciding and initiating to reach out. People usually don't do that too often. You have to initiate that. And now after consistency comes vulnerability. Once you're consistently positive enough, you could be vulnerable with people. This is when you really get to know about someone. They'll tell you their problems in life. They may open up to you about past traumas. This is where being a friend's all about. But not just from their perspective, from your perspective too. This is where you're going to see the benefits of relationships. And yeah, just remember, positivity, consistency, and vulnerability. Side note too, before we go on to our next point. Don't be that dude who is instantly vulnerable the second they meet someone, who just says everything to this dude they just worked with for 2 hours, tell their whole life story, how they got beat up in high school and stuff. Don't be that guy. So for my third point, we're going to talk about being open in your relationships. This kind of bounces off what I was saying about vulnerability, but I think it needs to be dived in just a little bit with itself. So the more open you are with your relationships, the better they will be. You don't want to be that guy who always wants to be the anime character. Oh, I'm just going to get people to open up about me. They're going to tell me their problems. So I'm never going to say anything about myself. Look, you're losing out on half the benefits to a relationship. And people won't learn about you. Once they learn about you, they know how to interact with you. Just because you know how to interact with someone else doesn't mean they know how to interact with you. So for my third point, we're going to talk about being open in your relationships. This kind of bounces off what I was saying about vulnerability, but I think it needs to be dived in just a little bit with itself. So the more open you are with your relationships, the better they will be. You don't want to be that guy who always wants to be the anime character. Oh, I'm just going to get people to open up about me. They're going to tell me their problems. So I'm never going to say anything about myself. Look, you're losing out on half the benefits to a relationship, and people won't learn about you. Once they learn about you, they know how to interact with you. Just because you know how to interact with someone else doesn't mean they know how to interact with you. For my fourth piece of advice, let's talk about something that's very helpful for when you have a super close relationship with a girlfriend, your family, or even a close friend. You should always see yourself as the problem. With relationships, conflict is always going to happen. You can't prevent that. But you can change the way you go about solving it and even preventing it. You should see yourself as the problem. Why is this? Well, you can never change the way someone else acts, but you can change the way you navigate around them. If you try to change the way someone else acts, you'll probably just end up being unlikable and they won't like you. For instance, if you have this friend who doesn't like when you talk a lot, and that always results in conflict, you can just choose to talk less and that'll solve the relationship. And if you don't like the way you're navigating around them, say I want someone I can talk to, distance yourself from them or cut them off. It's as simple as that. And like I said before, don't let them know you do this. You could do it in a way without being toxic or putting it out there that you're not messing with them. So yeah, point number 4, see yourself as the problem. With that being said, that's actually going to wrap up our 5 points. This is the first video in a long series I'm going to make. I try to get through a book and a movie every day, so I consider myself someone who's pretty smart. I don't plan to stop learning. You should never stop learning. It's an experience that should always be happening. It's something that's never ending. And if you think you know everything, you don't. The person who thinks he knows everything is going to learn nothing. So you should always be open to taking any knowledge from any source and evaluating its quality based on your own merits, obviously. But back to my point. This is the first video in a long series I'm going to make. And if you like it, drop a comment and help with the algorithm and help promote it to more people. And with this video too, I want you to take my words and claim it as your own ideas and pass it down to someone else. Through that, you can actually cause world change. And you'll make the world a better place because they'll pass it down to someone else and that stuff will last forever. But that's probably it for me though. If you enjoyed the video, just drop a like and a comment and maybe sub. With that being said, I'm out of here. See y'all.